All right, let's see. Am I live? Sometimes it takes a minute. Okay, it shows that I'm live. We're just a little bit early. I just want to draw your attention. I've got some information up there for you about grabbing the free heart cut file bundle, and then also about the modify panel cheat sheets. You might find those helpful as we're doing this. Cheryl's here. Hi, Cheryl. She says she can hear me, and she's been playing around with the heart bundle since she's been waiting. That's awesome. And I think you've got some more emails coming about that bundle. I'll have to check after this, make sure I got everything sorted out. But my biggest annoyance, especially with free files, is that you hoard them all and then you don't use them. Or like you buy a file for one specific project and then like that's it. So I made sure with this bundle, you'll be getting some more information about all the different ways that I've been using this file, because of course I want to make sure that you're getting all the good use out of anything you're getting from me. And part of that is just giving you lots of ideas of how you can use these free files. And we will be doing that today. So this will be one example of how to use all of these beautiful hearts. So I created this heart bundle when I made my first box card, and that was my heart box card. Let me see if I have a picture of that somewhere. I bet I do. Let's see. There we go. No, wrong one. I tell you, I have a lot of files and I'm silly and kind of name them the same thing. So I really have a hard time finding things sometimes. You ever have that problem? And then let's just pull this up here. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here is that first file that I created. You can see here's the one that has all the lovely edges to it. Here's the cutout one. Here's the one that says love. And oh, I guess I only used 3 of the 4 different kinds here. But this was like the original thing that I had created these hearts to create this box card. And then, so here's what you get with that free one. You've got, looks like 5 different hearts that can be used in a multitude of ways. And we'll be using it to create our card. We've just got about 4 more minutes before we get started, because I said noon. So I want to make sure that we wait until noon in case, because that's only fair, right? But while we're here, okay, so something else I want to just tell you about. Maybe you remember, oh, I don't know, a while back, I was playing with not heat transfer, oh my gosh. Words are going to be hard today. I was playing with heat foiling on vinyl. And so like, here's one of the things I created with that as one of my tests. I think I'm eventually going to stick this on my Cameo. I haven't decided. But one of the other first tests I did was I did it on this water bottle and I did it on the text here. Well, this is the thing I have to share with you. Heat foiling and the dishwasher don't mix. So if you're going to do that on something that's going to be touched with water, I would get some clear permanent vinyl, and I would probably give that a slight offset that's a little bit larger than your original project, so that way it seals it all in, layer that on top, and then apply that, and that way it'll actually work for you, so that you don't end up with like this one. You can maybe sort of see the sad little edges that are left there that were the heat foiling. So heat foiling and water don't mix. Hello from Michigan. Jenna, I hope I said that right. You love how I teach. You don't use your Silhouette yet. You have a Cricut and use Design Space. Well, guess what? Silhouette Studio is free to download for the standard version, and you can do all of your creating in Silhouette Studio, and then so you'd have to get Business Edition of Silhouette Studio, which is a one-time purchase. And then you can do all your creating in Silhouette Studio, because I know the software is a bit more robust than Cricut Design Space. You could export that SVG and then cut things out on your Cricut. So you wouldn't necessarily have to purchase a Silhouette cutting machine to get to use the software. So that's the cool part. You don't need a machine to use the software. I know a lot of people who do their Glowforge designing in Silhouette Studio, and then again, Business Edition. So you can export to different files, and then you can do that. Keep freezing up, so we'll watch the replay. Thank you for doing these tutorials. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, that could be me too. This is like the first time really. Well, I did a live workshop at the beginning of December. Was it already December? Wow. But this is like really the first time other than that I'm going live on YouTube. So I might have to look at how I'm doing things, because it could be me that's freezing. It's almost 2 here in Minnesota. Cheryl's in Minnesota. Okay, well, yep, that's Central Time. And here we are, right on the dot at noon. All right. Well, are we ready for this? We are designing side edge cards for Valentine's Day. So before we get started, I want to show you what you're in for. So these are 2 that I created, because heaven forbid I don't go through and do this before I show you, because we'll be here for 20 years. But let me just show you what these look like. So side edge cards, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. My personal preference, I like to just have the edge on the front, and then the back is just a regular straight edge. I've seen other people do this cut edge on both sides, so we could do it that way. And I've also seen where you layer on top instead of putting things behind. So these right here are all cutouts, and then we have the piece on the inside. And that's how I'm going to teach you how to do it. We're going to do, remind me if I forget, I will show you how to do just the cut edge for the front, but then if you want to, how to also put it on the back instead of a straight edge. But we're going to be doing cutouts, and then with a piece that we put inside here. So just to show you again, these are 5 by 7 inch cards. And then we are going to be using my free heart cut file bundle. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's all of the designs that you get inside of the heart cut file bundle. And that's a free bundle. I've got the link is in the description, but I've also attached it to the chat, so that way, if you need to grab these, go for it, because this is what we're using to create our stuff. So, all right, let me just let you know what you're in for. We're going to be using the offset tool. We're going to use some point editing. Obviously, we're going to create this card. So we got lots of things that we're going to be doing. You're going to get a good understanding of some of the tools in the modify panel as we go through all this, which is going to be super cool. I am in version 5 of the Silhouette Studio software. I don't know that I really recommend everybody start using version 5 yet. From my understanding, there's still some kinks that need to be worked through, but I want to show you this so that you can get used to it. So when it's like good and ready to rock and roll, you kind of already know what it looks like. Things are a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. So let's jump in and get designing. Okay, here is my file. And I like to just grab stuff and pull it into the file that I'm working on. So we're just going to grab all these hearts, Control+C to copy. I've got a new page here, Control+V to paste. Okay, we can get rid of that. Do you want to save changes? No. And you know what? I'm going to do this in standard edition, just because I want to prove to you that you don't need all the fancy bells and whistles in Silhouette Studio to design. So things look a little bit different here. I've got my starter mode on, so it tells me the names under these, where if I turn that off, you see some of the names go away, and then it shows all the things. But I like to leave that on, well, because I'm still getting used to things. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I like to work kind of off the mat so I'm not constrained by what's happening here. And we're going to start by creating our card base. So I'm going to grab that rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw out a big old rectangle. I told you we're going to make a 5x7 card. So it's going to be 7 inches tall. I'm going to unlock that ratio aspect. So our height is going to be 7. And then this is going to be the card laying out flat like this. So that is going to be 10 inches wide. And then I like to work with colors just so that I can see what the heck I'm doing. And then we'll get rid of that line tool. Oh, and gray on gray, that's going to be difficult for you to see, isn't it? There, okay, there's our card base. And then I'm going to come in with my line segment tool, and I'm just going to draw a straight line. Hold down that shift key while you click and drag down that line, and that'll give you that nice straight line. And then I'm just looking at here, oh, it's not quite the right height. So I'm going to just put in a 7, hit enter. That just makes sure it's the exact height that we want. I'm going to grab both of those things, and I am going to align them center both directions. And you'll notice if you've ever purchased a file from me, my lines, golly, my score lines are always either a blue or a white. There we go. So since we're on this teal card, I am still going to do it as like a blue color, but let's use a nice dark blue. All right. Let's go ahead and just group that together. So you can right click and group, or you can just rubber band select Control+G. That's your keyboard shortcut. And we're gonna start off also, let's create our inside panel. So that'll be this part here. That is what goes behind the front of our card. So I find it easier to get kind of all your pieces sorted out in the beginning when you know you're gonna be cutting things and cutting shapes out of stuff. So for this one, we're gonna grab that rectangle tool again, and I can just, well, we'll scroll up here to create it. So this is going to be just 5x7. And here we go. We want that 5 inches wide. I'm going to hit tab and 7 inches tall and hit enter. And there it is. And we're gonna give this a different color. Let's do this like orangey color. And then I just personally like to get rid of those cut lines. That's a personal preference. And then I'm gonna overlap both of these. It's gonna make life a lot easier for us. We're gonna align them to the right side, and then I'm gonna align them at the top. So now you see my score line's gone. It's not really gone, it's just right under the edge of this piece. Okay, now let me zoom out a little bit. We're gonna do some point editing, and we're gonna take out the centers of these two heart pieces. And let me show you why. When you look at this, can you tell how we have the lovely frill edges on there? The edges on there, that is those two types of hearts, but because we're cutting these out, even if I don't cut those out, they're gonna fall out because there's nowhere for them to attach. I hope that makes sense. So we're just gonna save us a little trouble, and we will go ahead and just fix these up. So just pull these up here. We're gonna, if you double tap, it brings you to the point editing. And then I'm gonna zoom in on this heart. So what I did, if you have it selected and then you hit this plus sign with the dashed lines around it, that'll take you to the shape that you have selected. And then now you see how you have all these little gray dots around it. Let's zoom in some more. Can you see all these gray little dots? Those are they call them anchor points. So this is basically what makes your shape. But we need to get rid of these inside shapes. So I'm gonna click on one and I'm just gonna hit the delete key until I get rid of all of those inside shapes. And I'm gonna go around the entire heart, and we're just gonna get rid, and just keep hitting delete until all of those inside parts are gone. Because remember, when we go to cut this, those pieces would fall out. But this entire part we're gonna have fall out of our design. So while you could leave them because those pieces would fall out of your design, it's easier to just go ahead and get rid of them now and not have to worry about it. Okay, so now we have one solid heart with these bumpy edges. And then we're gonna do the same thing to this one. So I'm gonna double tap, and then I'm gonna grab these inside pieces, click on one of those anchor points, those gray anchor points, and we're gonna just delete. So the fun part is, not only am I showing you how to make a side edge card, but I'm taking you through my exact process that I used when I created these. And hopefully I will have these cards that you saw, the same design. I'm teaching you how to do it, but it's also going to be a design that'll be up for sale on my Etsy shop and design bundles and on my website. Hopefully I will get that done, hopefully today. We'll see. As you saw a few weeks ago, there's a lot that goes into getting a design ready to be added to the website. So more to come on that, but that's the cool part for me, is I can show you how to do this, but then I also get a file that I can use. As I notice that it's kind of a different customer. Not everybody wants to take the time to learn how to do stuff. Some people want to just create the thing and be done with it. And that's okay, which is why I try to cater to both aspects with providing designs and then also teaching you how to use your machine. All right, we're almost done with all of these. And then when you just click off, it'll be done. I'm going to zoom out. Control and minus will zoom us out. We can get rid of that point editing. Okay, so we've got those fixed up. Zoom back out some more. I won't be using this one with the cutout of the love because, again, you're not going to see that, so we can get rid of that. Same with this one. We're not going to see that. Let's get rid of it. So we've got 3 hearts. But you'll notice on my design, we've got this kind, we've got this kind, and we've got a bunch of different sizes. So we're just going to resize some hearts and make them however we want. And let's see. If you look at the bounding box, it tells you this is 2.75 inches wide, and this is 2.89 inches tall. So I know that I've got 7 inches of height here. Math is not kind to me. I'm going to make all of these. We're going to start by making them all, I'm going to lock that ratio aspect. We're going to make them all 1.5 inches tall. Oh, what just happened? Control and Z, undo. Huh, even with that ratio aspect locked, look at that, it didn't like it. Let's see if we do one at a time. There we go. I'm telling you, sometimes this version 5 is just really not ready. See, didn't like it. You gotta do one at a time. It's interesting. So if you are also using version 5, I would recommend probably backing up to a legacy version. That's going to work a little better for you. Oh, and then I guess we can just go ahead and get the center out of this one too. Let's do that. Point editing. We're going to click right here. I know it's hard to see. Let's see if I zoom in. Come on. We'll get this opening out of the way as well because, again, we're not going to notice that. Okay, there, we have solid hearts. 3 solid hearts, all 1.5 inches tall. And let's just scoot things over a little bit more here. So I said I like to design over here where I don't get distracted by lines and everything. That's just my personal preference. Could you also release compound path and weld? You could release the compound path, and then you would have to go back. And I already closed it. Oh no, here it is. So if I did the release the compound path, I can right click. Now I have all these pieces. Let me zoom in so you can see. See how, and now it's got all those little pieces that are there? So now if I hold down my shift key, because I've got multiple things selected, and unclick the big main heart, it's only going to select all of those small pieces, and you can hit delete. And yes, it does the same thing. Thank you, Tracy. You're going to find that there are multiple ways to do the same thing. And while I might not always pick the easiest way to do it, I'm just, showing you the different things we can do. Okay, we've got those and we're ready. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to decide how we want to get things laid on here. And what we're going to do is first let's grab all of these and come to this top here, and we're going to bring to front. Let's see if that helped. Oh, it did. Yay, did it do it for all of them? Yes, it did. Love that. Can't see my screen anymore. Oh, man. Because I forgot to hit the right button. Let me show you that again. Let's come over here. Okay, here's my heart. I'm going to release the compound path. I'm going to right click, release compound path. You get all of the squares, but we've got multiple parts of this heart are selected. So I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm going to deselect the main heart so it only grabs those inside parts. And then I've hit delete, and now we have our perfectly solid heart. So that's the other way you could do it instead of doing point editing. Okay, we've pulled these to the front by clicking on them. I selected all, and then you've got your cheat pieces up here, and I just did this one here that says bring to front because they were falling behind the different parts of my design. So now what we're going to do, zoom out just a little bit, is decide how we want to lay these on here. And you want to lay them, I like to try to get them flush with the top and flush with the edge, but just putting them in a straight row is real boring. And we don't create boring things, right? So we're going to use this little green circle, that's your rotate, and we're just going to give it a little rotation and then sort out how that's going to fit on there. And then I like to just pull a copy. So I did Alt or Option on a Mac, click and drag a copy up here because we're going to use multiples of these. And then I'm going to click a copy of this one and we're going to tilt this the other direction. And of course, while I did show you, oh, you know what? Before we do that, reverse, reverse. This is the same mistake I made when I started creating. We need to put an offset on all of our hearts. Doesn't matter what direction they're going when we do this. So I'm going to select all three of these and we're going to find that offset panel. Look at that. Here it is. Everything's in a different order in this version 5, so excuse me while I hunt and peck for things. Okay, and we're going to give this an offset, an external, so just a regular offset. And that offset is what creates the area around, so when you do your edge, you see how there's this white border around my heart? That is the offset. So you want to make sure that we do an offset that is going to be thick enough to cut since we're cutting this with cardstock. And I found 0.1. Well, it doesn't look very big, and we're going to do rounded edges. Let me zoom in here. There. Okay, so now it shows, so it went ahead and applied it. But I like that 0.1. So anytime you click off, it's going to go ahead and apply. And oh boy, now I've done it. I had too many buttons clicked at once. Let's zoom out a little bit. I'm pretty sure it had just that offset selected, but I'm going to go back through and select just those offsets. And I'm going to give them a different color that we're not already seeing on our screen. We'll make those this nice purple color. And again, I just like to get rid of that red outline. That is a personal preference. Okay. Now let's just group that offset with each of the hearts. So that way when we go to move with them, we're moving both hearts. Now let's get back to what we were doing before I realized I was doing the wrong thing. Oh, and what I was saying. While I have already created a version of this, I guarantee you as we create this together, it's gonna look slightly different. I did not write down the measurements, and that's part of the creativity, is things are just gonna be a little different. If it was always the same, it'd be boring. So I'm just kind of tilting and turning these how I want. We want to make sure that the purple border is gonna go all the way up to the edge. We're gonna just kind of eyeball the best that we can while we're zoomed in, and then we'll zoom in even further later and just get those really keyed up the way we want them. And I didn't pull a copy, did I? Of course not. I can't even follow my own advice. Okay, pull a copy up here, both of those, because you never want to design in a way where, like, if something got goofed up, you'd have to start over from scratch. So how I do that is kind of through a couple of steps, and then I just keep pulling copies of stuff so that I always have room to go back and kind of undo whatever I did. The other thing I'm trying to do is make sure that these offsets, excuse me, I guess you don't have to have them overlapping. Let me show you this again. All this white space that you see through here, I think I did have the offsets touching when I did these, but you don't necessarily have to. All that's going to do is put extra space between the different hearts if you don't use the offset. And that's okay too. This is your design. While I'm giving you a template, you're creating this yourself, and you decide what way you want. If you want more space or if you want less space between these hearts. And then we will fill in the gaps with smaller hearts. So we could certainly spread these out even more if we wanted to. But I'm gonna grab just another one of these down here. And then the other thing too is, like, if you want to continue these all the way down, actually let's do this. Let's get this one down in this corner. We're gonna zoom in real good and far. That time it worked out. I'm gonna get that offset all the way down to that bottom edge. And then I'm gonna get, see right here, we're on the edge, and that looks good. The other thing we could do to help us out under the grid settings, we could do enable smart snapping or smart snap only with media. I'm not sure what only with media means, but let's try smart snapping. And that should help us snap this right to the edge. See how I don't know if you could see that light teal line that it shows, but it's trying to help snap to the edge. So maybe see what happens if we try smart snap only. Oh, only within media. Okay. So that would be only on the mat. So let's just enable the smart snapping. That's a handful. And I'm just going to try to bring that down to this edge. See if it helps. Nope, it's not helping. It's actually making it worse. I guess it would depend where you're doing all of your designing. So we're a little bit over the edge, totally fine, but I'm going to use that arrow key to see if I can't tap that right to the edge there. And zoom out. And then I'm going to click on this top one. I'm going to use that same magnifying glass to zoom in here. We'll get rid of that. And I'm going to do the same thing, try to get that right to the edge and right to the edge there. That looks good. So now with the top and the bottom to the edge, what I can do is hold down the shift key, select the rest of these hearts, and then come over here, and we're going to space them vertically. So this will evenly space them vertically. They're going to be way spaced out. So this is going to look a little different already. And then let's come in with our second row. I'm going to use this heart at this size, and let's just fill it in. So you can decide which direction you want these hearts to go. If you want them to go kind of in the same direction, but maybe not as far. I'm going to line these ones up so they're pretty close together. Let's zoom in here. And again, I'm going to try to get that right to that bottom, and that actually looks pretty darn close. Those are overlapped a bit. I like that. We'll zoom out a little. And then I'm going to use that Alt option to click and drag up my next copy. And I'm just going to space them to go in different directions. Maybe this one's going to go here like that. And let's see, can I get another one in here? Kind of like that. And maybe this one wants to go up like this. Okay, I'm going to make a smaller one now. So if you hold Shift and Alt or Option on the Mac at the same time, that's going to pull from all directions to keep this not symmetrical, but you know what I'm trying to say? So that way when it goes through here, it's still going to have the same distances, I guess is the right word. And then I'm going to use the smaller one. So I made this, looks like 0.67 inches wide by 0.641 inches tall. And I'm just going to use that to kind of fill in some of these gaps. And I'm just going to click and drag a couple of copies of this one. And I'm just going to tilt these different directions. Now this is the part where you're just designing and having fun, making this however you want it to go. And this one I think I'm going to make a little bit smaller. And then let's make another one up here, and this one's going to be even smaller. I'm going to try what are we at? We're at 0.341 inches tall. That second one is 0.524 inches tall. But again, you're going to make them however you want to make them. And I want to tilt this one back this direction. You can kind of fill all of this in however you would like. The real main thing we're going to focus on is making things flush at the top and flush at the edge with that purple offset. Let me zoom in on this. And I think that'll look good like that. So you see how I have this yellow peeking through here? We're not going to worry about that. We're going to fix this all up when we're done, and that won't even be a problem. So I'm going to zoom back out here and decide, how do I like how things are looking? We still have a lot of gaps here, and I'm just going to take these, I almost said flowers, hearts, and I'm just doing that Alt option to click and drag, and I'm just going to try to do like a rough fill-in right now, and then I'll come back in and just kind of modify things a little bit better later. So play around. The only thing that you want to be mindful of, like this one is, I've got it overlapping. You just want to make sure that none of the red shapes overlap. So if I pulled it way down here, and now you can see that my red is overlapping on this red. You don't want that, because then it's going to just cut as, it's going to look like one big chunk. So let's not do that. But if the purples overlap, that's fine. And if they don't, that's also fine. I think that looks good. All right, so we're just going to go through. I mean, we can even make some smaller ones of these if we would like. But I'm just going to click and drag and just try to fill in some more of these gaps. So as we're doing this and as you're designing this, just keep in mind that what you see in the red is what we're going to see, so the red that we're using on there is going to be the red that's on here that's going to show through. The purple is going to be your base card. So just if that makes a difference to you where you end up placing things, just keep that in mind. Can fill in a bigger one here. That one's going to overlap. I don't want to do that. Just going to fill in, and changing the directions and the angles of things is going to just add some more interest. I would not make these really much smaller than 0.25. You want to make sure that they're going to cut okay. And this is the part that you can spend however much or little time on that you would like, is you're just doing this. So how many of you guys are doing this with me? Give me a heart in the chat if you are following along and creating in Silhouette Studio with me. I'm just gonna put this big one here. So this one might be overlapping. So this one's overlapping a little bit. I'm just going to shrink it a little bit so I make sure it's not overlapping into the red. If the purple goes into the red, that's okay. Oh, Cheryl's in design space. Awesome. So things might be a little bit different, but I think you've got all the same tools to do this. So I just have to be careful to make sure. So if the purple overlaps on a different one's red, that will be okay. Yeah, that'll be okay. You just don't want the two red colors to overlap. Let's get this middle-sized. So this already looks way different than what I designed. And I think that's cool. I don't really love these. I don't know. So sometimes part of it is just sorting out, like, did I make these hearts too big? Are they too small? I don't know what to do with that. I don't like it. So I'm gonna get rid of that one. I think I'm just gonna bring in this bigger heart here. But that overlaps way too much into that one. Let's see. Let's just see what happens. This will be, no, it should be okay. So it's overlapping into that one, and the red will be overlapping, and then this one's going to be overlapping. So that's going to look different. So what it's going to do, which if you want to get things looking a lot better, or not better, more interesting, you can have them overlap like that, even though I just said try not to. This purple, it's going to give you an outline. That's going to be your base cardstock. And then this is the section that's going to show through. So it's going to leave. So like with this one here, what we're doing in purple will be what's white on this card. And then what we're doing in red will be what's red on this card. So you'll just have like a white piece that cuts part of that red in half. So that, I mean, it's okay. So I'm going to leave that like that. That'll be a little bit more interesting. Whoops, Control Z to undo. Grab the wrong piece. All right, let's see. We needed to fill in this bottom. These need a few more chunks filled in up here. Okay, so let's just keep filling things in. Get it all sorted how you want it. I do like when I do these like together. So I'm going to hold down the shift key to grab both of those, and then the Alt or Option key to click and drag two hearts at the same time. Let's see if they'll fit down here. And I can just kind of rotate those a little bit more. Trying to get that lined up on the bottom. I like that. Okay, well, let's see if I can get one more of these to fit in down here. And let's grab one of those smallest ones. This one. To fit in right here. Let's zoom back in. You can also do the Control and plus or Control and minus key to do your zooming in and out. And the further you zoom in, the easier it's going to be to see what you're doing. Okay. Let's fill in some more up here. I don't like that. So we're just adding hearts wherever you would like them. And then we'll just zoom in and make sure things are sitting where you want them. Change the direction of some of these hearts to just give you some more interesting looks. And then just making sure those edges, it's okay if they don't all go to that edge, but I want to try to get some shape on that edge so that we can tell that the edge is going to be cut in a kind of a different shape. So I want to put as much extra shapeage, is that a word? Shapeage? Sure. To the edge that we can. All right, well, and what size is that? That's, could go a little smaller. 0.22, let's try that. Okay. All right, I have just maybe with this one more little gap here that I'd like to fill in. Pull this one here. Zoom in, see how it's looking, where it's gonna fit. Okay, when you get to the place where you're happy with the way that your card looks, let's move all of our extra parts out of the way. And now, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Whoops, sorry guys. Let's zoom in on this so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so when you're happy with the way that everything looks and you've kind of zoomed in and made sure all the edges look good, we're gonna go ahead and rubber band select all of our design, and then we're gonna ungroup. And all of these hearts, we don't really need them anymore. I'm just gonna group those together and just kind of set those aside. Come on, set aside. There we go. Okay, what I want to do now is go ahead and you've got this select by color. We're gonna use that, click. And then you've got by line color and you've got by fill color. We're gonna grab all of our purple fill colors. We don't want to include groups because I just grouped all those extra hearts over there. So we only want shapes, not only shapes on media. Come on, fine, we have to include groups. Select that color. And then all I'm gonna do, because I grouped these together, I'm gonna hold down the shift key, deselect that group. Come on. Version 5 is not liking things. Let's do this again. Okay, well, fine. We'll just use it all then. That's fine. These are the things that I'm talking about why I don't recommend version 5 just yet. But with all of those selected, let's see what happens. Nope. Okay. Well, I don't really want to do it that way because I don't want to grab all of those. So we're just going to select, rubber band select everything you want. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to deselect. Version 5, you're killing me. You're killing me. Come on, select my little hearts. OMG, come on, you can do it. Ungroup everything. Ungroup again. Okay, everything's ungrouped. I forgot we grouped those. So now if I select purple, there. Looks like it selected all of our purple. Okay, so we had to ungroup everything, and then I unclicked the include groups. That was the key. So now it selected all the purple that is here. We're going to come over to our modify panel. Actually, before we do that, because I have a tendency to not do things correctly the first time. So what I'm going to do is, with all of our card design selected, I'm going to drag a copy down. So I'm going to alt click and drag everything and pull a copy away. Now I'm going to select these. And if I do just the purple, let's do this. Let's put this in a group. So it won't select that. See, sometimes you just got to game the system. Now select just the purple. Yes. Okay. Love that. So that's our emergency copy over in the corner. So with just this selected, we have selected only the purple layers. We are going to come over to our modify panel, and we are going to weld all of those together. Oh, and looks like it skipped that one there, but let's see if we click and drag. Good deal. Okay, Control and Z to undo that move. So this one has the red showing. So we're gonna zoom in on that one because it didn't grab that purple. So I'm gonna select this purple. Come on. Or did it? Oh, it did. Interesting. It just laid that on top. Okay. So all of that welded part together is now what we're going to use to help create our card. And now what we're going to do is we have this background piece here. We're going to click on that orange color and we're going to slide the front of this over. And you get to decide how far you want it. So right now we're creating that edge. And the reason we went ahead and made all of those what am I trying to say? We went ahead and welded all of those parts together is because we know the cutouts are going to happen within those areas. So now you get to decide how far back you want to go. So let me show you this. On this one, I know it's probably hard to tell, but can you see right here, there's a notch, and down here, there's a little bit of a notch. That is how far back I pulled back my straight edge. I pulled it all the way back to here. So you get to decide if you want that straight edge to go all the way or you only want it to go part of the way. This is completely up to you how you want to do it. Okay, sorry, I'm thinking. Okay, so we can decide how far. I'm going to pull this to, I'm going to pull it to, let's try to go to 3.479, 3.5. I mean, that's kind of up to you. The only thing I really don't want you to do is put the width up here because then it's going to change where they are with that score line, and we want it to stay flush on that score line side. So we're just going to pull this side back however far we want. But I'm also kind of looking at where some of these gaps are. That doesn't overly matter because we'll fill in those gaps, but you want to pull them at 3.715. I like that. I'm going to make a copy of this purple layer and we're going to paste it in front. So Control plus C to copy, Control plus F to paste in front. I want to make sure I have a copy. I'm going to pull that aside and it did not. Control Z. Control C to copy, Control F to paste in front. Let's see if it worked. Did not. Okay. Sometimes you just go up here to File or to Edit. Oh, maybe it helps if it's selected. Copy, Edit, Paste in front. Now let's see if it did it. It did not do it. God, this version 5, I tell you. Come on. Please make a copy. Copy. Paste. Oh, I wonder if it's putting it to the very back, and that's why. Well, so to find that out, we're going to select these two, and we're going to select purple, holding down that shift key, and I'm going to pull down. And don't you know, there it is. It's been there the whole time. Cool. Control plus Z to undo. We made that copy so that way it's in the exact same place, so we can do the same process with our blue layer that we're doing with our orange layer, so everything looks the same. So this, now I'm going to select this front copy, the purple, and I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to select my yellow copy. And now we're going to weld those together. Now we have one big purple copy. So now I'm going to kind of look at this and see if there's anything on here I don't like. And looks like there's just this one little spot right here that has a goofy opening. And I don't want that there. And I'm going to get rid of this opening as well. So I'm just going to, oop, things moved. We don't want things to move. I'm going to tap and see how it brings up a couple of these other erroneous dots when you do that. I'm just going to get rid of these. We're going to close in these gaps that are here. This is not what we need for our, we just want our side edge to be different. So now you can either go through all of this, or you can just do that same thing with the release compound path and do it that way as well. Sometimes I find this to be easier. I don't know. I'm weird, okay? And I'm just getting rid of all of these areas because this is the piece that we're making right now. This is the red part that goes on the back side. So what we're creating is this piece that goes behind everything, and it only needs to cut the edge shape. So all of these inside shapes, we're just going to get rid of. We don't want those. So let's see if we can make this easier and select. And then we're going to release compound path. We're going to select our large shape, and it's just going to hit delete and get rid of those. I'm going to leave the rest of these are touching, they're overlapping. I like the way that looks. That one is fine. And then we've got the bottom down here. I'm just going to clean up this one little spot right here. So I'm going to double tap. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to, let me just zoom in right down here. I'm going to clean up some of this to just make a smoother bottom edge. So I'm only going to delete certain parts right here. And I'm going to delete all the way to here. And all I'm doing, actually I'm going to delete all of this bottom. We want our bottom edge to be, Control Z. Let me move this. Because that's why we made them flush at the bottom, because we want these bottom edges to be, we just want the side edge to be different. Oh gosh, okay. Where did life get screwed up now? So now what I have to do is just bring this edge, where did it go? We're gonna bring that down to the bottom. So if you just click on that, oh, no, never mind. We don't want to do that. I want to make it flat. And then, so this right here is a handle. And I really just want to get rid of that handle. Break path. So now I'm going to grab that handle. I'm going to bring it down. Oh, it's not really what I want to do. We're going to add a point. And I'm going to add a point. I'm so frustrated. I just got the machine and I can't get it to work. I want to cry. Oh, sister, I understand. Tell me more. Right now we're just working in Silhouette Studio. Are you not able to get Silhouette Studio to work? We'll get to the cutting part here in a little bit. You have the electrostatic mat and I can't get it to do a simple cut because of registration marks. You only need registration marks when you're doing a print and cut. So, and with a print and cut, if you're doing those registration marks and it's not reading those, you got to scoot it over a little bit so that the edge of your cardstock starts right on the edge of where the electricity runs. I'll show you that when we get to the cutting part, but for now, all we're doing is just working in on designing. So are you having issues with that in Silhouette Studio? Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to add a node. It tells you how many. You've got linear nodes. I don't want to simplify. I want to add. Sometimes all you got to do is come here and I'm just going to click right here and I added one. So now I can delete this one. And that'll give me a darn flat edge. And because we still have that piece underneath it, we're going to zoom in really far as it's going to let you. And I'm just going to make sure that's right on that bottom edge. Looks beautiful. And then what I want to do is just make sure now it's going to read this shape on a goofy angle, isn't it? Of course, because that would be too easy for it to read it in the right direction. Okay, but now can you see how like our edge is our flat edge at the bottom? So I just want to really make sure that that bottom edge is indeed flat. I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I know I'm zoomed in as far as it's going to let me. If you don't want to scroll, I'm not printing, so thanks for letting me know. Oh, you are so welcome. Listen, this whole use your cutting machine and learn Silhouette Studio, I never thought it would be this hard. But guess what, my friends? Silhouette Studio is a graphic design software, and most of us are not trained in graphic design. So of course you're having a hard time. You should. I would be worried if you weren't, because then I'm like, hey, how did you become a graphic designer overnight? Yeah. So, okay, we got that bottom one that we put. I just lined that up really well. I just zoomed in as far as I could to try to get that lined up. So now we have a straight edge at the bottom. We've got our straight edge for most of the top, and you can see right here's our little notch of where we ended that straight zone and then started with our curved edge. And while our curved edge doesn't look so luxurious right now, that is what we want. But now we're going to click on this purple edge and we want to send it back one. We want those red ones to come up. So let's send it back. And it went all the way to the back because of course it did. Control and Z to undo. Let's try this one. Send backward. And it won't even tell me what it wants to do. Send backward. Come on. Oh, we got two of them. Okay, so this is just going to bring me a couple of hearts at a time because we didn't group those red hearts. That would have been too easy. Okay, gosh. And I hope we have them all, but I don't know that for sure. Here's what we're going to do to make this a little easier. We're going to send this one to the back. It's okay. Oops, send to the back. Let's grab, with our little color changer, let's grab all of our red. Let's group those together. Control plus G. It did. Control and Z to undo that move. So now those are grouped. And we don't have a layers panel. Okay, so now we're going to take our card and we're going to send that back. Okay, that looks better. Take our red layer. We're going to make a copy of it as well. Control plus C, Control plus F to paste a copy in front. Did it do it? You know, I bet it probably did. It's probably back there. Sure enough. Let's see. There's all of our copies. Nope, it did not. Okay. Sometimes you just got to do things 5 times to see if it's going to do it. Control plus copy. Control and F. Paste in front. That time it did. Okay. Control Z. Control Z. Control Z. Okay. We should have all of our copies. Now what we're going to do is subtract this top red copy. Hold down the Shift key. Select the purple copy. We're going to come over to our Modify panel. And we're going to hit Subtract. Now, it might not like that because sometimes it takes a while, but it might, because we also have multiple copies. There, look how beautiful that is. It did do it. And you see how that copy now, we have all of this that's going to be cut out areas. Oh, and that's not what I meant to do. That's not what we want to do. Yeah, it is. It's fine. We just got to do some more point editing. So you see how this one here overlapped those areas because my reds actually did overlap? Well, that's okay. It'll be fine. We're just kind of looking at it. Everything else looks good. We got our areas to the bottom. Okay. I'm going to Control Z to just put it back in place because now we're going to take that teal layer. We're going to zoom back in. And I think I was at like the 3.75-ish area. Some of these look like they moved. I think I moved that purple layer somewhere. Oh, Control Z. Okay, we are going to take this teal layer and we're going to pull it back to that same, we got that little notch there. So I'm going to pull my teal layer back to that same little notch. I have to unzoom a little. And that was at like 3.7. Should have wrote that down. Sorry, guys. Should have told you to write that down. We're going to try to just pull that back to the same spot. And of course, you have to pull from the center. And that, we are darn near right on that same spot. Pull slightly more. I'm just kind of eyeballing. I didn't set us up for success. And because you're also going to notice that your numbering over here is going to be different because this is a larger piece. So that'll be different too. Okay. Actually, you know what we're going to do that's going to be easier? Control Z. We're not going to worry about that teal layer. We're going to do it the opposite way. Okay. Oh, I was going to show you if you want the same thing to happen on both sides. We have our red layer. We are going to come up and go to Object, Mirror. We're going to flip. Oh my gosh, my brain didn't work. Horizontally. Where'd that one go? And then we're going to pull that to the other side. I'm just using the arrow key because I don't know where that one went in all of my layers of things. There it is. And then what we're going to do, we could take this over to this edge and go through that same process. Oh, but we don't have the purple to go with it. Okay. Guys, this is why I make multiple copies. So what we could do, because we already made this purple layer, we're going to mirror a copy. So you can come over to replicate. We're going to mirror a copy that direction. And now all you have to do is weld your two. So let me grab these two purples. I'm going to drag this copy. I'm going to weld those together. Where'd it go? Modify. Now you have one big section. Those will fold together. And all you need to do is add your score line. And then now you have this card that folds the same. We're going to make this a little bit easier. Now what we're going to do with this one, we got the point editing. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's make a copy of the purple. Control C, Control F to paste in front. And for our sake, let's change the color and bring it to the front. There, okay. Here's our new copy that we're working with. We're going to do some point editing, and we're just going to grab this point right here, and we're going to hold down the shift key and grab that point right there. And we're going to pull, oh, and I touched a different spot, so it pulled me a different point. Fine. We'll pull that point up to the top. And you're just going to zoom in to make sure that you're straight. You could hold down the shift key and get that straight all the way out to that spot right there. And then we can come down to that other point. Where are you, point? See if we can get it all on the screen. Nope. We're going to grab this point right here, and we're going to hold down the shift key and just try to pull that straight out. Holding that shift key is not doing me much good. We're going to stay right on that bottom edge because we have that blue behind us. And I'm just going to pull that straight out. And I'm going to line it up right with that edge. All right. But you'll notice our bottom and our top. Okay, B. So now, here's your full card. Here's your front that we have to fix. And then those were our cutouts. So now we got to fix this front. And all we have to do with all of this, because we need this to be a solid piece. So we're just going to hit release compound path. Hold down that shift key, deselect the large piece, delete. What? Okay. So now this is the inside panel that is all one color that goes in the back. So let me show you. So that's my red inside layer. And then this large one here is now my base, so the white layer on this card. So this one needs a score line. So we're just going to steal this score line. And now you can't even see a darn thing. Send this to the back. There is our score line. And now we know. Okay, now we're going to make things easy for us. I'm selecting all the parts that I need. And I'm going to put them on the mat. Let me just change my media size to letter because that's what I'll be using. Okay, zoom in on the mat here. Now we can do this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my green piece selected, and I'm going to align that to the left of my mat and then to the top of my mat. Then I'm going to grab my score line that's right here. And we know that we originally started with 10 inches wide. So that means we've got an X axis and a Y axis. I want my X for that piece to be 5 inches. And that should be the center. And then I'm going to do Y is 0. And that should be perfectly right where I want it. And then I'm just going to change the color of our green piece so we can see. And I'm just going to group those together. So there's our card base. Here's our insert. The other thing we can do if you wanted, especially if you wanted to cut these out of 2 different colors, one thing I want to do is you might have to grab both of these points right here. So holding down the shift key, selecting those 2 points, and then arrow key over to the right 1. And you see how that took both of those in 1 notch. That's just going to give us a little extra space when you go to put it inside your card. You might not be able to tell, but there is a slight gap, very slight gap, to make sure that it gets into where that score line is, but doesn't like go over or like overtake, and make sure that card is still going to fold. So that's why we did that. That's our inside. Oh, the only other thing that we could do now, we know that this is a 5x7. If you wanted to do this out of multiple colors, you might want to give yourself a nice inside part here. Where did that? I swear everything's going to the back. Come on to the front. Let me look at you. Let's give this a different color. Let's give that white. Actually, let's go yellow just so we can see it. I like to get rid of that outline color. And then let's just make sure. So if our big card is 5 inches wide, I usually like to do wide. If it's 5, we're going to do 4.5 by, if it's 7, we're going to do 6.5. And then that'll give us a nice like 1/4 inch border all the way around it. This is where you can write your sentiment. Okay, how are we feeling? We have it all designed. How are we doing on time? Okay, that took us an hour. Welcome to designing. Sometimes this is what it is. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little concerned that the edge on these hearts is going to be too thin to cut, but we're gonna just find out. So I'm using letter size cardstock, so I'm going to turn it this direction so it's going to work, and I am indeed using my electrostatic mat, so I'll turn that on there. And I've got my, so now on this one they've put all of your print and cut border is on under the grid part, so I've got my cut border on because on the electrostatic mat it's a little bit different. Get that off of there. We're going to come over here. I like to just use the standard, and we're going to cut by line color. And we're doing that because this one that has no line color is going to be our score. Oh, it's sorting out my machine. I'm just checking it is indeed on. And then this one's going to be a cut. There it goes. Now it's found some things. Okay, score. I like to do my score, and my camera is right in the way, so I can't see. I'm like, what am I looking at? Okay, I do my score at a 1. Auto blade, everything else there looks good. Let's check out our cut. I like to turn that blade up to 4. I'm thinking so it's been, what, a year since they came out with the Cameo 5s? I think I might be ready for a new auto blade, almost. I am cutting like on the daily, and I think it's almost time. All right, we got that all set up. I'm just going to scoot this down a little bit further. I like to just give myself some room at the top and kind of center that in. Everything there looks good. We're ready to load in. Okay. Well, I got this big old pack of Recollections cardstock. I love this. It's called the Essentials Pack. It's got 200 sheets and all sorts of different kind of colors. The fun thing is I did not put a sentiment on the cards. I'll leave these here so we can look at them. I think that's kind of fun. I thought I could maybe use the PicScan mat later and like add a sentiment by doing a sketch. I could do that later, or I could just leave them. It's not very often that I do that. It's really hard for me to like not put something on the front, but I'm trying really hard to just leave these alone. There's enough going on. So let's, I don't know. I kind of want to do, well, I'm going to do a pink on the inside. So let's see what happens. I think this might be cool. Do like a dark pink and a light pink. And then a white to put on the inside, or even a cream. Cream would look nice on the inside, so we can just cut it for our sentiment layer. What do you think? Maybe white. I think white would look better. I don't know. Where is, this is like a gray. That's too dark. Oh yeah, this is the problem when you have too many choices, is I could sit here and spend all day choosing. I think that's like a blue. I don't know if I have white left in here, to be honest. I might have used all my white. Yep, I think I've used all the white that's in here. So let me grab, let me grab some different white, but let's get this set up. So I think it'll be fun. Let's do a light pink card base with a dark pink accents. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Right here for your print and cut is the edge of where the electricity runs. That is the edge where you would need to line up the registration marks. Typically, I go all the way to the edge when I do this. When I'm just doing normal cutting, I could certainly do it right there. I really think that edge is probably where everything's reading, but they don't give you grid lines on here to know anything, so it's all just kind of a guess. So I like to just go all the way to the edge, so I personally know that I'm doing, you know, some consistency all the time. So I've got that set up. Oh, I want this to go up a little bit higher. I went ahead and turned on the electricity. All right, that's on there. That looks good. It's set down. So the cool part is I don't lift up my safety mat, clear thing very often. Looks like I just did the other day, and I've got dog hair all over the place. But I've noticed when I don't lift this up very often that I can really just like set this on here and it is ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and load this in. We'll come back to Silhouette Studio. I want to make sure I'm doing my score first. So if your score was underneath, all you got to do is click and drag up to change the order of operations. I'm going to do my score line first, so that way nothing moves while I score, and then we'll come back and do the cut. Or it'll do it all at the same time, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. All right, we're just going to hit send, and we'll let it do its cutting. Cheryl says, I'm still trying to figure out how to do the cuts, but I will keep going. Thank you. Cheryl, you're in Cricut Design Space. I cannot help you with settings. I don't own a Cricut. Jennifer Maker is probably the best Cricut person that's easy to learn from. She does a lot of cardstock projects as well. So if I were you, I would go check out what kind of settings she uses for that. She really kind of walks you through opening things up in there and like step by step by step by step, even more than I do. So check her out, Cheryl. She should be able to help you with your cutting on the Cricut. All right, how we all doing? Everybody got their card designed, getting ready to do their cutting out. Oh. I have a little friend in the craft room with me today. This is my dog Scout. She's been hanging out under the desk. She's been really good. We had to go do a walk before we did this, so I'd make sure she'd be a good girl and not drive me crazy while we're crafting. But she's like, "Oh, you're moving. Let me have some fun with you while you're moving around." So all that thumping on the wall and jangling you hear, that's Scout. Yep. She likes to craft with us too. So it is cutting. Looks like we got the last little bits of it cutting around the edges. We'll let it keep going. What is it doing? What in the world? Oh, well, that's funny. Even though I told it to score first and then cut, it still didn't listen and did the score last. I tell ya. I also have not restarted my computer in a few days, so that could be part of the problem as well. All right, let's go ahead and before I unload, gosh, that is way too thick of a line there. Oh, and it cut it. Oh, great. It did it backwards. Did I do that? Am I that ridiculous? Oh, I'm just that ridiculous. Okay, so let's go back and look at this. I tell you, sometimes. Okay, the one that has no line color, which would indeed be the entire card, should actually be what we cut. And the blue line is what we should score. Let's... Okay, we're going to do that score as a 1, and we're going to do, stop it, our cut on a 4. I leave the rest of the settings alone. Oh my gosh. That sounds about right. All right, well, let me just get this off the mat, and I told you this would be fun, and that you never know. But isn't it nice to know that you're not the only one who does silly things like cutting the wrong part or accidentally scoring the entire thing instead of cutting it? Okay, we'll get that lined up here, and then we got everything sorted out. We'll go ahead and try this again. Okay, now that I got things going the right way, I'm just gonna hit send and let it do again. Okay. Something I did not mention at the beginning, since it scored all of this, I thought this was a good time to talk about it, is that the other way that you could do a side edge card would be to still cut the same shape, the edge, but instead you could do score lines like what this just did. I don't know if you can... They're not that easy to tell, but there are, so instead of cutting everything, it scored it. And then what you could do is go take those red hearts that we had and cut all of those out and then place those on top. So then you would have dimension coming up out of your card on top of your card instead of a layer behind it, which would be totally fine, and that would look really great if we weren't doing such small hearts. I personally, the smaller the pieces are, the more I'm like, I'm not interested in paper piecing all those itty bitty teeny weeny little bit pieces. But that is another way that you can do it. All right, let's see. What you told me helped. Thank you. I couldn't figure out this thing about the registration marks. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad that, I mean, that is the registration marks thing that is so super frustrating, and I'm glad I could easily fix that for you. And let me tell you, from experience, I made all of these stickers, and I could not get, I made like 4 sheets of stickers that I was taking to work with me. and I could not get the darn thing to cut. Thankfully, they were just little square stickers, and I left enough space around everything. I had to just pull out my regular paper trimmer and just cut them all like that, because I just, for the life of me, couldn't figure it out. And of course, you know, when you're doing it in a hurry, you don't have time to troubleshoot. And then later I was like, oh, wait a minute. I just need to scoot it over, because it wasn't like the head of the laser just like would not go far enough over to even read where I needed it to read. So I totally get it. Totally get it. All right, I think it's almost done here. Let's see if we did things the right way this time. The other thing I can talk to you guys about, I've got my cute little weeding tool, Dollar Tree baby. Weeding tools, scrapers, Dollar Tree, highly recommend. I've got my Tombow Mono permanent adhesive. That's my tape runner, and then I've got some liquid glue. All right, this one is done. Before I lift off, I just want to check we got a good cut, and we did things in the right direction this time. Let's see. Ooh, yep, I was concerned that those edges were not going to be thick enough. I think at some point, this was 0.1. But I kind of think that some of it moved. Turn that off. Because you know how I showed you earlier that like they weren't centered? The hearts weren't centered on their offset. I think at some point when I played with the layers, something moved. This is the other cool part about the electrostatic mat, is I can just scoop it up. And here's my recycle bin. Clean up. It's just so stinking easy. So easy. Okay. Mat, clean. Ooh, still has electricity. Oh, don't do that. That does not feel good. I'll have to wait for a while before I do that. Probably unplug it and do that the right way. That did not feel good. Don't recommend that. And I'm just going to line this back up so you can see I put some, I took a Sharpie to it, the back side of it, and gave myself some numbers on here. While they might not be like perfectly in the right place, it helps me when I use smaller scraps. We'll turn that back on. All right, now we'll come in with our hot pink, dark pink, I don't know, our other pink. And I'm just going to get that lined up on the edge. And it's already static down on there. And then let's go back to Silhouette Studio, roll on over. Come back to design. Pull that one off. This is the next one that we need. I'm going to put it down here. This is just one big piece. We could come back to just standard because all we're going to do is cut it. We'll let that cut, and actually let's design. I'm going to rotate it. I don't know why it's like doing these wonky bounding boxes. It's not, oh, it's not, it's real not straight. Look at that. That's why. This edge, oop. I'm concerned about that. Okay, well, still not overly straight. Okay, let's do this. Sometimes when you pull all of those pieces, things don't get so straight. I'm just gonna check. The edge down there is not really straight. That looks better. All right, well, guys, This is why I do a lot of test cutting before I show you anything that I've designed, because sometimes we go through all this and we're just like, what the heck did we just create? Okay, we're on tool holder 1. We're gonna cut. I'm gonna turn that blade depth up to 4. We have my piece on there. Boy. Did I already load it in? It's already loaded. See, it says it's ready up here. We can go ahead and send that. It gives you still on this like standard screen, gives you these, hey, remember tools. And then we can go ahead and send. That's gonna go ahead and cut that out. Let you watch that. And then I gotta grab some white cardstock. I use Nina white cardstock. I just buy, like, I kid you not, I bought it by the case. A lot of card makers that are like traditional card makers that I have followed over the years use the Nina white and really liked it. So I had already had a bunch on hand. So that's what I usually use for white, especially to do my test cuts, because it's, when you buy it in bulk like that, it's cheap. And we'll use that for our inside layer for our sentiment piece. So we'll just get this added. We'll come back to Silhouette Studio. That'll be this piece here. All of our settings look good, and we can go ahead and hit send. Again, it gives me those settings. We can send, and we'll send that through. Okay, this is the card. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, and then what I have here, this is Aline tacky glue, and then I just have this like little squeeze bottle. I can't say that I'm in love with my squeeze bottle. It does the job, and then I just put a sewing needle in it, which is why there's like brown stuff here, because of course it rusted, but I don't know how else I would keep it from, oh, because I had lost the cap. That's what happened. And I just keep it in there to keep it upside down. We'll check here before we unload. That looks good. Turn that off. Okay, we got all of our pieces sorted out. So now the fun part, putting it all together. We'll go ahead and just put it together, even though things didn't quite work out how I wanted. I definitely think I moved things, because like some of these worked out fine, and that thin, it should be able to cut and it shouldn't be an issue. So I think at some point as we had moved things around, even though they were grouped, when I did all the ungrouping and things, I bet things moved, because these spots are so thin and these ones are thicker, and the thickness around each of these is not the same. So I do believe that is the problem. And that, man, it's hard, but sometimes things just move and you don't always catch it. We're just gonna fold down our score line. Okay, I got the 2 different types of glue. I like using the liquid glue when I have these intricate pieces like this. And because we're gluing parts together, so remember how I said not to have your red hearts not overflowing, touching each other. And this is why, because now we've got this big old gap right here where there's nothing. So it's just not going to look as crisp when we go to put this other layer under it. It's not going to know as well that that was indeed like supposed to be 3 hearts. So we're going to put glue on this, and I'm using the liquid glue so I can get into all these little small areas. You don't need a lot of glue in these little areas between your hearts, but you do want some so they make sure that they stick in together just fine. I don't know. This is the part that I'm like, oh, this is fun. Just putting glue dots on everything. Like, that's therapeutic, isn't it? As long as you don't stick your hand in it later. Ask me how I know that one. Okay, so I've got glued like all the way to the score line there, pretty much. And then make sure this is facing the right direction, how you want it. And now what I like to do, especially because we took that edge off and things might not quite work out as in like be perfectly aligned how we want it. I'm gonna just set this in my card. And this is why we use the liquid glue, because if we need to move things around, we've got time to move things around. And I'm pretty sure that bottom edge is not straight at all, like at all. Come on. So I would normally just kind of like fold that over and we'd be good and life would be fine. But as I'm folding, I do want to make sure that these edges are going to line up, and they are just so off. Okay, so off that I'm going to trim some of this. Okay. All right, got my little paper trimmer. Hopefully your lines didn't have the same problem. Like, look how not straight that is. So I've got it lined up. Maybe you can't quite see. Okay. Put this up here a little further. I've got it lined up at the bottom here, and I've got my edge on the edge right next to where it's going to cut. And then you see how it's top, like some of it's going to cut. Yeah, those were not straight lines. Okay, but we got it done. Cut that little strip off. So now this should fit in here a little better. And I'm just looking at, while we should have an offset, that offset should still fit flush with this. So I need actually a little bit more. Guys, I'm so sorry. Just gonna cut a tiny little bit more off that straight edge, assuming it's straight. Because you should be flush. This piece included that offset, so all of your cutouts should go straight to that edge, and it should be flush right on the edge. And if it is not flush on the edge, then we goofed up when we created our insert was not straight, and we know that. But ideally, if yours didn't move around like mine did, and when you created it, like I did, you should be able to get that flush right on there, and things should just fold and it should be fine. Wow, that is so not straight, guys. This is embarrassing. Super, super embarrassing. Okay, well, we're just going to ignore that. Okay, so there's the front. So here's the areas where I said things over. I was like, it'll be fine, it'll overlap them, but when we welded them, because I think things moved, it did not give me those yellow spots like I wanted it to. I don't know, guys. Some of it might be version 5. Some of it might be my mouse moved. But let's take this piece, and I'm going to attach this on the inside so you can see how the rest of it goes together. So look at this one. When it is right, you can see that red and the brown, the edges line up and they're nice and flush on the edge. Same with this one. Our edges are nice and flush, okay, because they're the same. And then here's our inside section that we created. This one I'm going to use with tape runner because that'll be plenty to stick that in there. So I'm just kind of like feeling the edges. You'll notice when you cut things, there is kind of an up edge and a down edge. When you cut from the top, it gives you downward pressure. So you'll have an edge that kind of slants down. That's your top of your card. This is me being super nitpicky and nobody else cares but me. I'm just going to center this and add that in. Now, this is the area where I can write my message. Again, I would have done the sketching on this before you put it in here, or if you're just going to write a hand message or you want to stamp on here, however you want to do it. But guys, what do you think? There it is. You can see that little bit peeking through there. That is something else to keep in mind. If I would have known I was putting it in this card, and I should have thought about it even for the one we created, that white panel should have only come to where our notched edge was. Okay, so I showed you the technique for creating our Valentine side edge card. I showed you all the mistakes that we've made along the way. So when you go back and create another one, maybe you won't make those same mistakes that I just did. And this is why when I create a card design, it takes me a while, because I would have so this is what I would consider my test cut. And now I'd go back into that file and sort out what the heck I did wrong. I would change the size of the yellow layer so that it only fits to that notched area, so it's not going to show in that covered area. Clearly things move, so this is why I showed you we did why I made multiple copies of things before I goofed up. So I'd probably go back to this copy here, and I just even need to look at these hearts. And let's see on this copy. Whoa, you did not zoom in where I wanted you to. Try that again. Click. Let's zoom in on this. Even on some of these, it almost looks like the smaller hearts, the offset did not, it moved. So you know what we did? And I think this is probably a glitch with the version 5. I really think that's what it is. When I shrunk those down, I shrunk from all directions and they were groups. So it should have shrunk them in the same ratio aspect, but it didn't. So knowing that, going forward, what I would do is get them to the size that I want, and then add offsets and just decide that those are the sizes I'm working with, and not make changes to the sizes as I'm designing. But there you know. Sometimes you just have to sort some things out. So if you want to create this later by yourself, follow these instructions. This right here will grab you that free heart bundle file that I showed you before that has 5 different hearts. And then when you pick that up, I'll also send you a couple emails with some other ways that I've used this bundle, because I want you to maximize the use of your free files. Because what's the point of having all these files to hoard them and to either never use them or only use them once? Silliness. So we'll keep using these. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. I thank you so much for hanging out with me and having a crafty Sunday. Go ahead and there's a community tab inside of, where are we? YouTube. Post your finished products over there. Or if you're part of the Silhouette Crafters Club, post them in there too. I want to see what you guys created. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.